ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to teach you how to go ahead and cut cake circles. Cake circles are super important, and all of you need to know at some point in time how to build a cake. And when building a cake, the first step is always cutting the cake circles. All cakes that we make in the store must have cake in them. So if a customer ever asks, can I get a cake without actual cake in it? The answer is no. Alright, so I got myself prepared before doing this. I got my cake cutters. This is for the large cake circle. This is for the small cake circle. I got my cake. In this case, as you can see, it's a red velvet cake. You can't confuse this with anything else. Alright, if you were cutting a chocolate cake, again, remember, chocolate cake is lighter than the brownies. Don't get them confused. If you pick it up and you're like, wow, this is kind of heavy, and it looks like you're thinking chocolate cake, always double check. Okay? Even though they are labeled, they have a date. We're doing FIFO again. RV for red velvet. If this was chocolate and brownie, you would look for the C or the B. Or if it's not labeled, the weight makes a huge difference. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the plastic here and peel it off. Today we're going to start with our large cake circles. When we're cutting large cake circles, we are going to get 3. Again, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get 3 cake circles out of this. So we're going to start in one of the corners. I'm going to get as close to the edge as possible here. And once I'm there, I'm going to go ahead and push down. Now, one of the keys to cutting cakes is I let these cakes sit out for a few minutes. There's a difference between a few minutes and a lot of minutes. You can let them sit out for 5, maybe 10 minutes. Don't let them sit out any longer than that, because if they get too soft, then it doesn't work appropriately. You still need a level of frozenness to it. Okay, back to the cakes. So we've cut it here. I have my circle right here. I'm going to go ahead. I have my one circle. It's almost a perfect circle. I'm going to move it off to the side. Okay, I'll be doing more to that in a minute. While that's continuing, I'm going to cut the next circle. I'm going to go to the other side, all the way along the edge. Pop that circle in, pull this out. I have circle number 2. Okay? Next, we're going to come over here. I have some parchment paper on standby, and I have my large knife. This is the knife that I prefer to use. Okay, this is the easiest thing. For the large circles, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut them right in half, and then I'm going to flip it up on its side. This is the important part, and this is why this large knife is important. We go through, and then I should go nice and easy through and pull so that I can cut that right in half. If you use something else like a scraper or whatever else, you have a tendency not to get a good cut through it. So again, down to the bottom where it touches, and then you should be able to pull it down. Here, I'm going to put this paper over it, and then it's ready to use. I'm going to put it off to the side. Okay? I'm going to go to my next cake circle. I'm going to do this same exact thing. We're here, and we're going to fold in half, and we'll go here. Now, as I said earlier, you're going to get 3 for the large circle. This is where your smarts comes in. As you can see, I have some halves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to get these 2 halves. This is just the bottom. You've seen this before. You see these on any type of colored cake. You see these with brownies. It's just a paper on the bottom. I'm going to throw that away. I'm going to take my 2 large portions together, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it so that all the way to the edge here, and I'm going to cut down, straight down. But we have a problem. It doesn't quite fit. That's not really a big deal. Okay? We're going to go ahead here. I'm going to take that little bit of extra, and I'm going to cut a little bit here. And as you can see, it fills in pretty good, so when somebody builds this cake, it'll be as if nothing's missing. Cut the cake here into our different sizes, and this one is the extra, so we're going to just bring it back over to the side. We're going to do like we did with the other cake. We don't have to cut this one in half. It's already cut in half. Again, you can see we're going to have some scraps left over, and depending on what it is, for yellow cake, we're going to use those yellow cake scraps, and we're going to put those in a Cambro because we use yellow cake on the stone. Red cake and chocolate cake we sometimes use on the stone. We can sometimes use it for different ice creams. You need to talk preferably with Jennifer or myself, and we'll tell you if you need to keep these or not. You're just doing one. We keep some, and unfortunately, because we can only keep so much of it, other times we have to throw it away. In this case, I will be saving these. So once I've cut it, Let's say hypothetically, ladies and gentlemen, I was making one cake. I was making a cake batter confetti cake or a strawberry passion cake that requires the red velvet cake, and I needed it. I can't just cut one cake circle. I do need to cut all three. So I would use one and I would have two left over. For now, I'm going to have all three left over. So I'm going to take those and I'm going to store them somewhere. Each store has a different spot. For here, mold store, sometimes we use these. We're going to go ahead and seal it up. Now, if I was going to immediately build the cake, I would want that cake that I'm using to be pretty frozen. But when you go to the video of how to build cakes, you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to secure it up, and then I'm going to put this in the walk-in freezer where it goes. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you've seen how to cut the large cake circles. Let's talk about the small cake circles. For the small cake circles, we need the smaller cake cutter. When we cut these small cake circles, we're going to get 5 cake circles out of this. Again, if you need to build a cake, customers order it, and you're like, I need red velvet cake, there's none already cut, and you need a small, you must cut all 5. You can't just do one and then put the whole cake back in there. That's a no-no. So again, we're going to start at a corner, just like we did for the large ones. We're going to go ahead, we're going to push it down, and we're going to lift it up. Then we're going to go right over here, just to the edge here, push it down, pull it up, and we're going to do this back and forth. And if done correctly, as you can see, we're going to get 4 circles. But where does the 5th come in? Just like you learned in the large rounds, we're going to use the 2 edges. So while we're here, I'm going to do this. Now again, ladies and gentlemen, there's 2 ways of which you can do this. You need to cut it in half. Your safest bet, as always, is cut it in half and then cut it in half. This just makes easier. This makes for the best cakes. I would prefer this is the way you do it instead of trying to do all in one fell swoop, because that has a tendency to make a mistake. So I'm going to do this for all 5. We've cut those 4 circles. We've done that. We're going to go ahead like we did with the others. We're going to pull this apart and we're going to go ahead and cut the circle. If you do this one correctly, this should get you about 2 halves. It's not going to be 2 perfect halves, but you don't have that extra that you need to cut like you did for the large circle. And we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and just like with the large round cakes, I'm going to store these in a bin. Now with the extra cake that we have, there'll be a designated place to put it. But either way, this is one of the most important things. When you are done cutting your cakes, you are going to have some waste. Whatever you are throwing away, if you look down here at my board, you can see I have my knife on my box. I have my cake cutter on my box. Make sure all of your supplies are off of your box. Some people tend to take their stuff, leave it, and then if they're throwing the cake away, throw everything away, including the cake cutter. Always check to make sure you're not throwing any valuable equipment away. Thank you.